Some breaking news right now. The CHP in pursuit of a motorcycle going very fast.
Yeah, you can see it right there in the middle of your screen. Let's go up to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal tonight with more. Des.
Yeah, Juan and Susie, look at these insane speeds. I've seen up to 125 miles an hour with this motorcyclist here. I believe this started with the CHP. We just had heard them talking on the radio overhead that they've been requested for a motorcycle blasting down the westbound side of the 10, coming out of West Covina. And I mean, he's going so fast that everyone's having trouble keeping up with this guy, including us up here in SkyCal. There's no one under, oh no, whoa, it looked like he might have lost control there really quickly because he's going so fast on this off-ramp here. Let's see what the suspect decides to do, kind of looking like they want to get off the freeway, maybe just doing a little psych out here. I hear the ground units talking, but there's a ground unit right there, actually a couple of them here. Wow. Let's see if this guy decides to keep running, and indeed speeding away from the units that had just caught up with him. So this is a dangerous one here, Juan and Susie, westbound on the 10 as we make our way through the San Gabriel Valley.
It's because of the speeds, right? It was going so fast on the freeway, a very different type of pursuit. You just obviously can't pit a motorcycle. That would be just, impossible. Sure. So is that right, Desmond? Are we really looking at 135 miles an hour, or is it just the distance?
We really... I know, Juan, we really are. We are pedal to the metal up here in SkyCal right now, trying to keep up with this guy. This guy is going about as fast as we can fly. Very, very close to our max speed right now. So, when you think about someone going this fast on a motorcycle with absolutely no protection, I mean, we all know some of the pursuits and how horribly they've ended because suspects decide to, literally put their life on the line to get away, that they were initially wanted for speeding. And just look at how quickly, going by all this traffic, so fast, if anyone makes any kind of move to get in front of this guy, I don't care how good of a rider he is, there's no way he's going to be able to avoid it. If there's some kind of debris in the roadway, that they're not going to have any chance to avoid either, and this is going to end terribly here. It's just blistering speeds here, 135 miles an hour. And, the ground units really not even making an attempt to catch up because it would obviously just be too dangerous for them. You see the spotlight from CHP's helicopter that's struggling to keep up with this one as well. This is one of the fastest pursuits I have ever covered.
I mean, obviously, we have seen motorcycle pursuits here in Southern California, and we always sort of, go, oh boy, and hold our breath whenever we see these because of the fact that they move so fast and because of how dangerous they really are, as Desmond was just alluding to. I want to take it over to Mike Rogers at the desk with some new information for us. Mike?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to point out in this unique situation, the CHP, especially in the San Gabriel Valley, Des can attest to this too, they are chasing high-speed motorcycles constantly. And I will say, I want to say about 70 to 80% of the time, they lose them almost instantly because of this speeds. What's different in this one, CHP's helicopter was already in the air going to Whittier for a different pursuit that ended, and they didn't land. So they stayed up, and that's how they were able to be over this so quickly. Otherwise, I would have to imagine the ground units probably would have lost it already going at these 130 miles an hour. So the different situation is that CHP was already up, and were able to get their helicopter over it really quickly comparatively. Out in the San Gabriel Valley, we always see them get these motorcycles and then lose them almost very quickly.
Mike, do we know what the original want is, why they wanted to stop this motorcycle in the first place?
Simply speed. Just simply the way he's driving. And what's interesting is I would tend to say that as we exit the freeway here, it looks like, right, Des?
We're going to go south 710 on this one, just to give you an idea. I mean, look how quickly we covered that distance between the 605 and the 710, less than 5 minutes. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah,
I was just going to say, generally with cars, with vehicles, when they're just wanted for speed, I would say that usually there's something else going on. That's why they're running. And I got to tell you, with motorcyclists, it usually just is speed. Sometimes there's not anything else going on. And just for some context, they've been chasing this on the 10 freeway since the West Covina area. And as Des just pointed out, we're South 710, like kind of bordering Monterey Park. They were, and I just heard the 1022.
What's 1022?
So it sounds like the ground units might be, or maybe just the Baldwin Park units, the East LA Oh no, yeah, they're asking the airship just to track it now.
Okay.
I mean, you're going 110 miles an hour. The ground units simply can't keep up, and it's not safe to do so.
Yeah, and when we're talking about tracking mode, we're talking about the officers on the ground, as Mike was talking about, backing off the ground units, and they're still following or tracking with their helicopter unit up overhead, just because of the fact that this person is going so fast. They're not going to risk their own officers' lives, obviously. They're not going to risk the lives of the public as well, who also on this freeway right now with this motorcycle driver who is going now to 120 plus miles per hour. And Juan, it just makes you wonder how is this going to come to an end? Is this person going to run out of gas? Are they going to, we hope not, crash somewhere, but we have seen that just because of the high speeds.
Incredibly fast speeds here, very dangerous. And for the most part, as Desmond and Mike were telling us, a motorcycle that was wanted for driving at high speeds. And look at this, any small bit of movement from any other motorist there on the freeway, just a quick change of lane, this driver has no way of trying to outmaneuver the other cars on the freeway. So it's very dangerous, it's very deadly, and again, somebody who's just going at a high rate of speed now on the 710 freeway, covering a large amount of ground, and so dangerous enough that as Mike was telling us, some of the units have pulled back, and now they're going to be tracking this from the air. But the wonder is there more than speed here? He's wanted for speed, but what else does he know that he might be wanted for, right?
Sure. If they're tracking it from the air and they're not relinquishing it right now, they're going to stay on top of it, as we've been seeing, as Desmond is talking about. We're talking about speeding down the freeway right now, and also perhaps something else. What else is this person running from?
Yep.
If it's just speeding, they could have just pulled over, and this would have never began, obviously, but it could be something else that they want to hide from authorities, obviously, and authorities are trying to get to them.
And Desmond, we're looking at your shot here. We got brighter streets right now. You can see the driver. Looks like he has a backpack on, a T-shirt, and a helmet. Not a lot of protection, as you were saying. If anything should happen here, the consequences could be deadly.
Oh, absolutely, and I think they're wearing a short-sleeve T-shirt as well. I mean, this has got to be insanely, uncomfortable. It's a pretty chilly night now in Southern California as well, and you're going that fast, and you've got a short-sleeve shirt on. At least if they were wearing, a jumpsuit or leather or whatever, motorcyclists wear. I'm not really too familiar with the motorcycle community, but we've all seen motorcyclists wearing kind of the full body protection. That they at least would have some protection from road rash. But I mean, if you're going this fast and you crash, that's it. Bottom line, no matter how they wipe out on if it were to happen. So it is always a crazy thing to see. Mike had mentioned how it's almost become like a nightly ritual when we hear about CHP in the Baldwin Park area chasing a motorcyclist on the westbound 10. It's like deja vu. We hear this almost every single night, and almost every night that motorcycle steps on the gas and they get away. And it almost makes me wonder, like, is this the same guy who's going out here and like taunting CHP every night? Because it's literally almost every night of the week with the same agency in the same area that we see, or we hear anyway, about motorcycle pursuits. And usually it's over before we can even get SkyCal started, because like I said, they don't even attempt it, because these guys start driving like maniacs like this. So very peculiar. This one, though, the authorities do have eyes on. We have eyes on as well. Really just kind of by luck that they happen to be up in the air and that we weren't too far away either. But we'll see what, if anything, they want to do with this. I mean, they're going to keep watching from the air for now. They'll continue to do that. And we'll just have to see where this suspect ends up, if they're going to try to ditch. I think that was a CHP truck that was just in the left lane right there, maybe just by coincidence. But yeah, we are flying down the 710. I'll just be very curious to see where this motorcyclist ends up.
Yeah, we're seeing this motorcycle zoom by those cars on the freeway. Cars at this time of night, probably going like 70, even up to 80 miles an hour when there's not a lot of traffic. And when you see this motorcycle just whiz by, you can see just how fast this motorcyclist is going.
Susie, and one really quick, I'm just listening to some radio traffic here. They are saying that the motorcyclist has been going at these extremely high speeds for so long, they think he probably will run out of gas soon. So they're trying to, you know, we run into this situation with CHP when you're going at these high speeds, we're in and out of different offices, and they're trying to coordinate with different offices.
Sure.
They've actually put the pursuit now on a frequency that is like basically statewide, so they can stop switching from channel to channel. But on this channel, they're talking about how they believe he may run out of gas soon, so they don't want units to get too far away. We're approaching South LA CHP office area now, so they're trying to get those units kind of in position. That way, if he does run out of gas, they can be right there. Because the other thing with motorcycles that we've seen before is they can so easily get off the freeway, go into a park even, somewhere where it's wooded. Even the airship may have problems following them. So I think they don't want, while they are in a kind of a tracking mode situation, they don't want units to be too far away because they don't think this is going to go on for much longer.
Yeah, and it looks like they've slowed down just a little bit, Mike. Look at that, 66, 64 miles an hour now. Is that perhaps because the units are far enough back that this motorcyclist thinks, hey, maybe they've given up on me?
Well, yeah, and you know, he knows how much gas he has, right?
Right.
So if he doesn't see them right behind him, he may think like, oh, this is a chance where maybe I can save some of this gas and I don't need to pin it to 120, 130, even though now we're coming down to even 40 miles an hour. And Des, are we getting off a freeway, or is that the 105 we're transitioning to?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be transitioning here to the westbound 105 away from the southbound 710, and indeed that is the case. So making our way now towards Linwood, Compton, South LA, Hawthorne, and LAX if they want to go. So yeah, you know, Mike, you were saying how this guy with so much distance, and they don't want to give him too much distance because he could just drive into a dark area or a parking structure or something like that, and he might be able to get away. However, I imagine that they would impound his motorcycle, so that's why I'm just really kind of curious. You know, this didn't come back as stolen. It just came back for speeding violation. So just really curious what this suspect thinks they're going to be able to do to get away and still keep the motorcycle in their possession as well.
Yeah, and you know, Des, I was kind of thinking that was kind of a little bit of his fatal flaw. That spot you saw where he kind of slowed down there and they were able to catch up to him, that was the first time they were able to get a license plate. You know, they were chasing this all the way from West Covina, and it wasn't until Monterey Park that they were finally able to get the plate, which usually these guys are going so fast they never get the chance to. So them having the plate, that means they likely know who at least the registered owner is, maybe who this person is. Looks like we're getting off, Des, yeah?
Yeah, it looks like we may be exiting here at, it's going to be Lakewood or Bellflower Boulevard. Stand by for that. We'll know here momentarily. But yeah, so they actually didn't even have his license plate number until right now. So we're at Long Beach Boulevard here on the edge of Compton, and now, you know, they have his license plate, and maybe he's unaware of that. So we'll just see how that factors into all this. Maybe he thinks he could ditch the bike in a parking garage and he'll be okay, and come back in the next day and it's gone. But we will see. Are they headed to their house somewhere they know, or what? If they were able to get the license plate number, then that will certainly give them an idea. But now, you know, after going 120, 130 on the freeway, all of a sudden stopped at the light and not attempting to blow a red light or anything like that.
Okay, Desmond, we want to remind our viewers that you are watching KCAL News at 9 o'clock. And of course, we're following this breaking news. CHP in pursuit of a motorcycle. This started in the West Covina area, I believe on the 710 freeway. And according to, I've been trying to listen to you and of course Juan, Susie, and Mike during the last hour. Well, this person is off the freeway now, has made an exit and still driving very, very fast from what I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. I mean, you know, 70 miles an hour here on surface streets, which is, you know, kind of hard to believe, but about half of the speed that they were going earlier on the freeway. We saw over 130 miles an hour at one point on the westbound side of the 10. So we first heard about this on the 10 at Citrus in the West Covina area. Blasted through the 605 before we could intercept them up here in SkyCal. Westbound 10 to the south 710, and then we're briefly on the westbound 105 before coming down to Long Beach Boulevard, and now headed southbound. Now, since they've been off the freeway, they've been kind of, well, we had some speed, but haven't been running through any red lights or anything like that. Might be going into a residential area. That spotlight from CHP overhead. They still have eyes from the sky, not from the ground. They backed off the ground units because of the insane speeds on this one. But let's see where the suspect is headed. I mean, you know, we see him go into residential areas. We always think that they may be getting ready to get out and run. So we'll see if that is indeed the case.
Okay, I believe Mike had mentioned that this they're expecting this guy to run out of gas.
Yeah, you know, that was one of the units who said, you know, like this guy had been going so fast for so long, he can't have that much gas in the tank. So that's kind of why they were trying to not lose him, because they didn't think he was going to last much longer. Now, I did just hear that they're asking the sheriff's department, because now we're in Compton, which is patrolled by the LA County Sheriff's Department. They want the sheriff's deputies to be in position, be in the area. It doesn't sound like they want them to take it over, but they at least want them to be in the area because, you know, as you mentioned, Pat and Des too, when we get into these kind of neighborhood streets, it's, you know, always likely that there's going to be a foot bail or something where we get into a situation where they'll need a ton of units. So they've got Long Beach PD, because Long Beach will get further to the south. They want them ready, and they want the sheriff's department ready in case this ends in a foot bail. But, you know, CHP didn't chase this on the freeways. They backed off because of speeds. I can't imagine that they'll chase it on surface streets, especially with him still going 70 miles an hour on surface streets here.
And certainly, and as we mentioned, in a residential neighborhood. And I believe, from what we understand, the only want, or the initial want anyway, was speed, as far as, right? As far as we know.
Yeah, just speeding. I mean, you know, we heard them run the plate. The plate didn't come back stolen, and they you know, probably now know who at least the registered owner is, which, you know, sometimes obviously helps them get an idea of where that motorcycle is registered to, what the address is, because then they can maybe say, okay, we're getting close to his house. But, you know, we kind of came off the 105 and went south, and it looks like we're going back northbound now, right, Des?
Yeah, we were, but it just made a turn kind of at a weird intersection. Now going up to State and Redwood Street. There again, the CHP spotlight overhead. Oh, what are they doing here? Looked like it kind of slowed down going underneath the 105. Let's see if they pop back out. A very common pursuit tactic where, yep.
You think he's still there? Maybe ditch the bike?
I have to wonder if they did, Pat. You see the spotlight hanging out on the other side. And, you know, so many of these suspects now, this is what they're doing. They're going to places where they can evade the eyes up in the sky, us as well as CHP. You see their spotlight. We kept the shot wide to see if we would see him come out.
What is that?
I have to wonder if they just ditched the bike and got out and walking away from the scene or something. Might have parked it right there in the center divider. They have not come out from underneath this one. You see CHP's spotlight looking frantically all over the place as well. Is that the bike right
no, he
there?
just
Did he just come out or not?
There he is. Okay. There, now we go.
Right there.
So came back out, tried a little
Spotlight
maneuver
is
there.
on him.
Fooled us for a moment. But we got it back here now on Imperial Highway at State Street, and thought maybe it was going to end. Tried a little maneuver there, but
you know
it continues.
Well, you just said that. He said, fooled us for a moment. So it almost seems like that was intentional, right? Don't you think? But they had an idea, I'm just going to go on and hang out up under the bridge for a while, and maybe have them thinking of what I'm going to do next if I'm going to ditch the bike, as Desmond and Pat were just talking about. It does make you, you know, feel that way, because now he is back on the roadway, and you can't get into the minds of these folks. You try to. Well, now they're stopped at a light. Interesting. And hasn't this person been running lights? Running through lights?
This person has not been running lights. We've had those super crazy speeds, but they've been stopping at all the red lights. That seems to be where the suspect wants to draw the line, realizing that that would just be, you know, the most dangerous thing they could probably do is try to, you know, cross traffic there with, you know, nothing protecting them, while, you know, 3,000-4,000 pound vehicles are, you know, hurling in their direction. So that seems to be where they draw the line, is crossing red lights. But speeds, you know, we've seen 70, 80 miles an hour on surface streets, 130 on freeways. I do have to mention that we are, as we crossed Imperial and Alameda, now officially on the edge of LAX's airspace. So that is going to be possibly another complicating factor for us, depending on where the suspect wants to go. But we are westbound on Imperial Highway. Imperial Highway kind of functions like a mini freeway at some stretches. Here you go, up to 70, 80 miles an hour now. Yeah, definitely a wide street here parallel in 105, Pat.
Well, you know, and I know you've probably talked about this in the last hour, but I'm just noticing that this person doesn't have on a jacket or coat of anything. They've got jeans on and a helmet.
And a T-shirt.
Is that a T-shirt that they're wearing?
And
I noticed I didn't see an outer jacket of any kind, and I'm wondering, well, okay, we'll look at them.
It's just so risky to be going. I mean, 130 miles an hour on the freeway, Pat, and not even wearing a T-shirt here. Now, I will be curious. There are CHP units on Imperial trying to catch up with him right now. When he made that move under the bridge, that's when the airship said, okay, let's get a bunch of units in here. So I am listening to a unit that's coming up behind him on Imperial. So we'll be interested to see if they're able to catch up or how much involvement CHP wants to have on the ground.
Hey, guys, because what can they do at this point? If you get out, you throw a spike strip if you can?
No, yeah,
because they're certainly not going to do any kind of pit maneuver on a motorcycle.
Yeah, and they wouldn't try to spike a motorcycle either. That would be, I think, just too much risk for the rider there. So, I mean, what they're doing right now with their helicopter is probably the extent of it. They're going to watch him, wait for him to run out of gas or run on foot or something like that. And the best they can do is try to have a bunch of units in the area to be able to catch up with him as soon as he kind of, gets off or ends or what have you here. But, I think he's kind of starting to realize the writing on the wall here. I mean, you tried that move under the freeway. Now we're stopping at all the stoplights and kind of trying to follow the rules of the road here. But that night sign is not. Oh, look, there's a CHP unit behind him.
I see.
Let's see if they light him up. But I'm not unaware that everyone is still looking at him.
Well, you notice he turns around.
Yeah.
To see what's behind him, so he knows they are. Maybe he wants to see how close, or if
Look
you're right,
if
ground units have actually picked up this pursuit again. Well, look at this. Look at this.
Let's see.
Oh.
Whoa. Wow. Just like that. Oh,
I'm sorry.
My goodness.
I'm sorry.
CHP was not having it. They were not having it tonight. Wow. That was an interesting little sneaky maneuver there by CHP to come up.
Oh, boy.
Just kind of sneak up behind him. And before he could think about anything, they got out, pushed him off the bike, and that brings this to an abrupt end.
Okay, now what maneuver do you call that? A tackle? I mean, that was a foot, correct?
Yeah, I was.
They went outside the playbook for that one.
Pushed him over. I mean, I don't think I've seen that one before.
A human pit.
Yeah, exactly.
They just, they tackled the guy.
There you go.
Well, you know what, Desmond, Mike, it could have ended worse.
Oh.
Look, they just probably said, okay, we're tired of this.
Yeah.
That's like going to grab your teenager.
By the ear, Pat. Yeah.
By the ear, and pulling them up. Okay. And now you're going to go to the, the jailhouse for the night here because you should have been doing what you've been doing. But again, this could have turned out much worse. Somebody could have gotten hurt considering the speeds that this driver was.
Yeah, and most likely him. He could have gotten killed in all of this with that small bike and those heavy cars. I will say, out of all the agencies, and Des, let me know if you disagree. I think CHP is most likely the ones that will try different stuff to bring something to an end. We've seen them a couple of times use your box-in technique and different stuff like that. This is definitely the first time I've seen them just push them off a bike. But CHP, if any agency, they'll be the ones to try a little something different every now and again.
Well, this is definitely something different.
Yeah,
and again, I'm going to notice the apparel. Again, with the backpack, I'm just noticing that for the first time as well. So, all right, we're going to call this Co4. And Desmond, Mike, thanks a lot for the narration during all of this. And it ends safely, but in something very different that we've seen in most pursuits.